Hi, my name is Natalie, owner of StarLimitless Fitness.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys are going to get this is a different type of game because I've had personal trainers on, and some of them are my friends, but this person, like, we are connected at least for the next like 10 weeks, maybe. Every week, twice a week, we're going to be seeing each other's face, hearing each other talk. And you guys know I'm a quiet person in real life, so I don't talk much, but we're in this cohort together, E2C. Thank you, Sharifa Green and Bruce Lewis. But Miss Natalie has a business as a personal trainer where she actually focuses on a population of, I used to work in a population kind of like that, with people like that of all sorts, kids of with all type of issues. So she's going to give us the game on why her stars are limitless. So Natalie, welcome to the show. How are
Hello,
you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm blessed by the best. Tell the people, how did you get into this? What is your company all about? How new is it or how old it is? And I say old, but you guys can look at Natalie and see she might have just got out of high school. So give the game.
Okay, so let's start off with how I got into it. I've always had a passion for helping people, and usually with your typical people, that's the term that we use. Most people use that as, take it for advantage or don't appreciate it as much. And growing up, I had two family friends who had children that are on the autism spectrum, and their kids would only gravitate to either them or no one else. And when I'd come around, the engagement was very well, and the parents were drawn back about it and everything. So since I have that caring spirit, I was like, why not incorporate that into something else? I enjoy working out. And then I also, like I said, have a passion for the ASD community. So I'm like, why not incorporate the two? So that's kind of how I started doing what I'm doing now. The business started in about March or April of this year, so it's new. Um, and we're in the baby steps of it. It's all about inclusion, respect, and having compassion.
Well, what made you, and I don't mean to embarrass you at all, but I have to talk because we are in an Instagram, TikTokable world where most are, I would say a lot of women, young women who, are fit and fabulous, but they would take their personal training a whole nother route and say, let me catch the curves, the angles. That's what I want to be known for. And you said, let me actually go help a population. I hope you guys heard me. Every great business helps a population. Instagram and TikTok will only last for so long. I can say that. I manage big influencers. I know how the money comes and it flows. But tell the people, like, what made you go the route you're going instead of saying, look at me, look at me. Hey, I have a great smile. Hey, I got this, with this angle. Like, give us the game where your head was at, and even what you think about some of the personal trainers who are selling, let's be honest, they're selling angles and, sex lightly.
It's funny you say that. I've had on this journey, a lot of people say, "Oh, why don't you just train, your typical people? Why don't you start a group camp, things of that nature?" And I'm just like, that's not my long-term goal. So I don't want to start there and then have to try to transition out of that type of style to go into the next. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't align with my long-term goal. Um, and as far as, sorry, what was the second question?
Well, it's just keep going and flowing and talk about what kind of inspired this
Okay, the
population.
inspiration part. Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry. So the inspiration part, I was just inspired because two things. The first one, I know this population is one that's neglected, right? So, as my shirt, StarLimitless Fitness. That comes from my last name is Starcher. So each individual is their own star. And society tries to limit them about their capabilities. And I don't know if you guys can see, but it's pushing the weight. So I want them to be able to push past the limitations that society is placing on them. So, just that part of it. And as well, I was interning at a gym, and there was a group about maybe 3 people being trained by one trainer. And there was a younger kid, and I noticed that his father was there training with him. And this kid may have been 11 years old. So, I was observing, and I just noticed, I was like, something's a little different about it. And I never had any experience working with this population. I used to work in aviation with the one percenters, Bloomberg, all those people here in Palm Beach. So I had that, knowledge of stuff. But there was just a connection of understanding, I guess. And long story short, I asked the trainer afterwards, I was like, is he diagnosed, with anything or on the spectrum? And he said, I don't know, he's just a lazy fat ass kid that has no athleticism. And I was taken aback about it because, like I said, I didn't have the knowledge that I do now as a therapist, because I am a therapist for children with autism. I'm an RBT. So I didn't have that professional knowledge, but I still had a feeling, if that made sense. So fast forward a week or 2 later, I went again, and this time Dad's there. And I had no clue of how to approach Dad about asking, is your child on the spectrum, right? So I kept thinking about it, and I was just like, I'm going to ask, because closed mouths don't get fed. So I approached him, and I was basically saying, like, I was observing, and I saw that you were helping him. And I have plans of opening a gym for the neurodivergent community. And he was like, he is on the spectrum, but it's more of like the fine and gross motor. But educational wise, he's excelling. And once I heard that, I went back to the trainer later on that day, and I'm like, by the way, he is diagnosed, on the spectrum. So that incident there really solidified and like closed the deal of like, you have to make a difference for this community. Because 1, that trainer had no compassion for him. 2, he's obviously not educated, which I don't fault him for it. He just has no understanding of this population. So that's another reason, the main reason.
Well, I've worked again with youth from group homes to even I would, you guys check out LinkedIn. When I put something out there, it's real. But even being like a supervisor at a step down program of a real psych ward and dealing with youth. And no, it's not just a lazy kid. These kids, and I think even, I can remember being back in the day, kids are dealing with the same things that adults are dealing with. Sometimes that stuff is being pushed on them. That's why a kid will go out at 13 years old and do whatever he has to do to make sure mama or daddy can go pay the rent and have some food. If you've never been in that situation, it sounds alien to you. Sounds like a movie or a rap thing. So, but why would you be a trainer to somebody that you feel so low about? The same way, why would you work with the population? Because I've met counselors and different things who should never have been in their situation because they really hated kids and they hated ones that had special needs and needed more attention. I'm sure you've seen that in your thing. Yeah. Have you ever asked anybody, like, why are you here?
So like I mentioned before, I am a RBT, so I'm a behavioral therapist. We do one-on-one sessions, sometimes, maybe pairs, and it's for the money. A lot of people, I don't want to say majority, because I don't want to, limit, but a large amount of people do it because of the financial stability that may come with it, the consistency of knowing that, okay, I'm getting this rate and I know I can pick up clients if my client's not available. So I think a lot of it is more of the money without having the compassion. And it's just not fair to the kids a lot of the time.
Let me push back on that a little bit, because as a consultant, I could help a lot of these people make money other ways, right? The money ain't that good in helping people in social work. Even if you are able to go get RFPs with government contract, the money's a little different. It can get into the millions and go up. But most people are just there to sit on their lazy behind, collect a check, have kids, play with blocks or color. Don't even want to take them outside. I've been let go because of, I want to take kids out, man. I want to take you out. I can't get you off heroin at 13 or 15 by keeping you inside this house with other kids. And, I've worked for, the different organizations, and they were great organizations, but you always get that one or two people, like I guess most jobs, that really make you say, like, why are you here? Tira la puerta, get out, go. And so for the money and for them being lazy and just wanting to sit down and be dang near like a guard, a prison guard or something. Sit down, shut up.
A lot of people are complacent, which is to each his own. Not everyone has a drive to excel and, adventure into new opportunities. But like you said, it's a lot of the time laziness. Like it's easy, if I don't have somebody on top of me literally telling me you should do X, Y, and Z, all I have to do is write my notes, say I did X, Y, and Z, but in reality, we were just chilling. I was probably on my phone, I may have a few engagements with my client, but for the most part, we're just here chilling.
Chilling, and I was eating the kids' snacks. I was getting a free lunch. Let's talk about it, right?
Okay, into our defense, there is something called like modeling that we have to encourage the clients to eat their snacks. So we do eat it for that reason.
I was there on some good snacks, and
you too.
Yeah, I was there. I'm just saying, but I really like pay or no pay. Somebody asked me to speak for kids or speak with kids. It's like, okay, if I can fit it in the schedule, I'm going to do it because I know there's a huge need. And a lot of kids, even if you have two parents, might not have good role models or them not putting something into you. What I do with my kids, I'm looking around and see, I have examples all around, but you have to be a contributor in this house. Nobody gets a free ride. I got everybody working. I can show you how to have a 5-year-old do the dishes where daddy don't do dishes, and then when you have another one, they copy that behavior. So it's the same thing for the negative. If everybody's just sitting there watching TV all day, picking their nose, eating the dinner on the couch, what type of unit is this? But that's a lot of families here in the divided snakes of America. That's the USA, y'all. But, and I'm a patriot. I got my flag over there, but you guys see, I'm also, pledged my allegiance to some other places as well. God being first. And that's, we struggle sometimes because we're all human. Let me ask you, with the business, what made you say, I think I can do this better than the place that's already paying me and I'm eating all the snacks? What made you think I can step on the ledge and do a better job than my employer?
The first thing is the compassion that I have. I've had that drive and a soft spot for them for a long time. And the second one would mainly be being a part of a field that's predominantly men, and a lot of the times Caucasian men. I'm half Caucasian, but like that's usually who we see doing these type of things. So why can I not be the difference? Why can't I be a woman and be able to do that as well? You know what I mean? So I feel like those are the two contributing factors as to why I really was like, I'm going to hone in on this and make it happen.
Okay. And thank you for, disclosing your, half Caucasian, whatnot, because, if I know out here in South Florida, everyone's like, mami, mira, ven aquí, and, and speaking Spanish to you all day. But it's interesting. Now, did you grow up in South Florida?
I did. Born and raised.
Okay. On the playground?
In Broward. You said on the playground?
One of my days, I was trying to do the Will Smith, but you might not even know about the Fresh Prince like that. So like I told you guys, you just came out of high school, right?
I know what French Prince is.
Okay. Not the reboot, but the original, in the opening song.
Not to quote it like you, but I do know it.
Gotcha. So being from here and just kind of seeing, South Florida is very interesting. I'm from Cali. It's kind of like Cali where the people are shallow. The folks, you see so much money flowing through here, but sometimes you're like, what's the give back? So would you say that this business is your give back?
Yes, as well as I just 2-3 months ago, I got approved by the IRS for a nonprofit that I opened as well, which I'm going to venture into, a little bit. But The nonprofit is solely to serve the minority community who have diagnosis on the neurodivergent and to provide them with fitness services, as well as just giving back, during food drives or host little events on the weekends, you name it. But that's another one that I really want to hone in on. Because like I mentioned in the beginning, like I always have a passion to help others. So why not incorporate that into something that will be beneficial? And I always say, it's extremely rewarding knowing that I can help them, even though they're not able to maybe verbally, physically express their gratitude towards me.
How did you, transition into entrepreneurship? That's something that so many people struggle with. And now you're talking about even having a nonprofit. So, the pots must be pissed in to grab something else and say, because I have a feeling Natalie's really not doing this for the money. She's doing this because she wants to just serve. But, you have to have the money coming in. A lot of people say, I'm already working, I'm beat down. I don't believe you have children. I would actually bet I got 50,000 Leons that you do not have children, because I can tell it. You can tell when someone has kids usually in their face. You see the wrinkles, you see the gray hair, you see the hair start receding back, right? You guys, I'm showing y'all.
Still there.
Nah, you ain't there at all. But how did you say, okay, did you go full blown entrepreneurship, or did you keep a job and then start your business? How did that go?
I'm still in my 9-to-5 job, and I'm just
okay.
So I haven't fully transitioned.
Okay, so you haven't done the full Bruce Jenner in business and done a full transition.
No, not yet.
Okay, and yeah, you guys heard what I said. Yeah, at the in business, though. So with that, do you have, when you know that you're fully going to go full time in business, is there a certain amount of money that you have to hit, or is it just a timing thing to say, I'll know when I know?
I think for me right now, I've set a certain type of goal as far as the clientele that I have. Obviously I need to make sure that this leap of faith that I take is still going to pay my bills, right? So knowing that if I train X amount of clients per week, I'm going to be bringing in this type of money and, to be able to sustain myself during that time. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now, is just making sure that I'm lining up all those ducks, and even the legal aspect, making sure I have all the certifications, credentials, and stuff like that. Because like I said, this community, it's, a lot of liability that goes into it. So just making sure, like I said, that everything's just lined up to jump into that next step.
Now, the next step, if anybody watches, shout out to the Kendra G show. She really, filled the gap for those of us who need junk on YouTube, and it's beautiful junk, comical junk. But when, women will say, for me to date, the man has to have this, this, and this. In business, do you have to be at a certain place or have so many clients or so much money coming in? Because now you have the nonprofit. It takes one donor, and you said you dealt with the big money, but before
offered, but at the time I didn't have it set up, and that was 3 years ago. So now it's trying to get back in contact with those people to see if they would. But
oh, I'm sure you will get in contact with those people, because there's something about old money and young people. They want to be around it. They want to be around the new ideas. And, you have the it factor. I mean, if you started playing the piano, I say, look at little Alicia Keys' younger sister playing the piano, getting down. So I'm sure that you'll find it. And there's so much networking, and you just missed a great event, actually. I wish I would have known that you had the nonprofit, but there's so many people out here that are great donors, and not wasting their money. They're giving it. So I could see it. But do you have any requirements for yourself? And I want it to be like a teachable moment, because like I say, in relationships, people say, well, he has to be, 6 foot. He has to be 6 figures. And you guys, I'm not going to go any more into the sixes, but are there any other things and requirements in business that you say this has to be here? Because sometimes money's not enough. Sometimes your mind has to be there. Sometimes your team has to be there. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs try, get the money and fail because they didn't have the system and the strategy. They just had money.
Yeah. For me, I would say the mental aspect of it, because you're obviously in our cohort, and I think that's the first thing I expressed on our first class is, just having that type of mindset to eliminate, I guess, the anxiety and all those other stuff, or being less self-sabotaging and stuff like that. That's even a thing. But yeah, I think it's, for me, the mental aspect of it. Because, nothing's perfect. Like you gave the example of relationships. You can never have, let's say, 10 criteria and expect your spouse to meet all 10. It's just not really realistic. So there are going to be things that I may not meet that are not as important, but I'm still capable to make that leap into full entrepreneurship.
Yeah, unless you're married to someone like myself, and there's others like me out there, you hit all criteria. Even if we don't stand, huh?
So let me know if you know anyone else.
Oh, I know plenty of them. Oh, you off air, you just started something. And let me tell you guys who listen and then contact my guests, come through me first. I'm the date doctor, 4 marriages in. I'm looking for number 5, but I got to do the wedding. So don't contact her without coming through me, because you got to be vetted, because some of y'all are great and some of y'all need Jesus for real, but the mental is such a big thing. And I want you to tap into, the self-sabotage, because that must have been something that you've been thinking about. So many entrepreneurs suffer with that. Can you talk more about that?
So like this idea that I've had, it's been since 2020. That's when I initially thought about it, came up with the logo, the name, and all that other good stuff. And since then, it was just self-sabotage. Maybe I'm not going to be able to do it. Like, how am I going to come up with the clients? It's a niche that no one's really tapping into. Me reaching out to other individuals in like New Jersey, the Carolinas, who are doing what I want to do, and not really giving me enough feedback on how to get there, which, not everyone's willing to give you the game. But, doing a lot of that, looking for validation through others and, family, is something that also does limit, and overcoming that, like knowing that, okay, it's me in this and it's going to be me. And I have to give myself the ability to be self-driven, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And it's why I have this show, to tell entrepreneurs stories. And you said something else that we're going to go even deeper in, because while you sit with that $1,500, bookshelf behind you, and that $100 to $150 brown globe, I'm pocket watching, y'all. JT ain't the only one who can do it. Family and support and friends. When you first came and said, I want to do this idea, what we find on the show is most entrepreneurs did not get we're going to help you in finance and put you on our shoulders. Talk about that. You don't have to say names, because I don't want nobody to beat you down at the next, family function. But talk about the response, and then how did you get over that? Because the real courage is to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you hit it on the head, a small handful of people were like, go for it. But majority of people are like, it's not a smart thing to do. Why don't you find something that has consistency? It's such a financial risk to take. It'll be something not smart. Like, just all these negative connotations, and never really bringing any positivity to it. And I just overcame that by actually working as an RBT, seeing that, okay, all the clients that I've ever dealt with, I've gotten feedback from parents that usually, like the company that I work for now, the last client that I did work with, mom emailed them like a long paragraph, and I was only working with her for maybe 3 months. And mom was just, you know, expressing her gratitude and knowing that I just got into the company and that like I'm just so passionate and it's natural, all this other stuff. So I think, you know, those incidents really solidified that, okay, I'm capable of doing it. You know what I mean? And then also when it comes to the fitness aspect, that kind of was delayed because of self-sabotaging of, I guess, the image that I wanted to have physique-wise. And I felt like I didn't really meet that criteria to sell myself as a personal trainer. So once I overcame that and, you know, realized that, okay, as long as I have the knowledge, I don't have to have, you know, the six pack and the big quads or whatever. Like, as long as I'm confident within what I'm doing, then everything else really doesn't matter.
Wow. Okay. I'm shocked that, I mean, everybody battles with something that you might not think people battle with, because I've seen the Instagram and it's like, what else can you do? You know, naturally. I mean, we are in the place of, you know, fake, and everybody's running to Colombia and everywhere else to, you know, look like, I don't know why they want to look like that. And I don't know one man who wants them to look like that, but you see so many trainers, and it's not just the women, it's the men, you know, putting abs in places that they didn't work for. And any trainer will tell you that takes a discipline, and usually people do that for training, for some event, for a movie, not for their everyday. Even The Rock, you know, talks about these things. So it's crazy that you even battle with that or dealt with that. And in the I don't know, you guys, we got to be more supportive of people, because here you're trying to do good for a population that's, you know, back in the day they would sometimes throw those folks in the places I worked in, Methodist Children's Home in Ruston, Louisiana. They would just throw those kids because they didn't know what was wrong with them. The devil is in them. Beat it out of them, you know, over zealous Christian folk. Burn them at the stake. Oops, say that again.
Sorry, I said even with the African American community, and that's another reason why I started the nonprofit, is to just bring that awareness and the acceptance of it, because it's the reality. You know, every year the percentage of children being diagnosed with autism, Down syndrome, spina bifida, you name it, it's increasing. You know what I mean? So it's there, and we do no justice to avoid, you know, honing in on the reality of the situation. Like I see it where, you know, there are African American families or just even other families who don't accept it, right? And now you're limiting and delaying the treatment that this child could be getting. And now, let's say in middle school, this child is having behaviors that can either get them arrested or end up dead, or, you know, extreme things like that. And that could have all been prevented if you accepted it in the beginning and gave them the services that they needed. So, like I said, you know, for a long
What
time back in the day, they were shunning them out. And even now, a lot of parents still do. They're ashamed, you know, they think their kids just, you know, crazy or whatever the case may be.
Loco en la cabeza, for real. And they're trying to beat it out of them. For the parents who are struggling with that, and this is a global podcast, I call it an African business podcast, but, you know, all around the world. In Sierra Leone, I'll just mention, you know, pregnant girls, you know, in the last, 3 to 5 years have been allowed to, you know, go back to school because they were shunned from going to school, even though there's a rape crisis out there, right, that the president is fighting. But the mental health in Africa, all through Africa, it's like Black folk are all the same. Man, ain't nothing wrong with that, boy. And I remember having uncles, and, you know, they'd have their room in the back room, and our aunts have their room here. Can you talk about, for somebody who can't get that help because maybe in their area, even here in America or abroad, what can be done? Can any foods help? Are there any routines that you see that help, you know, kids kind of balance out? I know there's not a cure. I wouldn't put that lie on you, or we'd be the Burn Your Leisure podcast and we'd be saying anything and just shaking our head. But can you talk about, you know, what can people do who can't afford you or don't even have access to services that you provide?
So I'll start off first with, there's a slogan that says, if you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism. And it's true, you know, I can tell you, like, eating, you know, low sugar diet, or doing personal training with fitness, or engaging in occupational therapy, doing food therapy to incorporate new foods for a client can work for this kid, but for the next one, none of that can work. Maybe one of that can work. So it's kind of, and that's the hard part about it, is there's no fixed or universal thing that can be utilized to really say like, okay, if you do X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen. And, for those parents who are hopeful and, are trying to figure it out, they're going to hone in on the information that you're given, like, okay, do these things, it should work. And if it doesn't work, what are they going to think? Or they're going back to square zero that, okay, I believe nothing's going to be able to work and my child will never be able to progress.
Okay. I got you. Is there any future plans of you doing what you do, privately, putting it into a course or putting it on YouTube where folks can kind of follow you for those folks who cannot get that help?
Yeah, long-term wise, I do plan on doing that, as well as getting a gym here in Palm Beach. And that's the point of the gym, is just creating that safe space, because, these individuals are usually not going into your LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, Crunch Fitness. And even if they are, a lot of the trainers are not specialized to deal with them or have the compassion to do it. Anyone can go get the certification, right? But having that compassion and really doing it for them is not really always there. So the whole point of it is to create this safe space that, if there's an accommodation that needs to be done for sensory in regards to hearing, right? Making sure that the music is not loud. If there's a visual impairment or a visual sensory that maybe the lights are too bright, being able to have lights are adjustable to accommodate those needs, right? And maybe they're not used to being around so many people, making sure there's one-on-one sessions that they're the only ones in the gym. So that's another goal that I do have before doing the YouTube and all that other stuff. Or maybe I can do it interchangeably, but yeah, I just really want to create a safe space for them and for their families to use.
What's crazy to me is, when you talk about autism, there are so many professionals. I know medical doctors who are on the spectrum. There are athletes on the spectrum. Now, you're crazy until you can make everybody else some money, win a gold medal, and that's our guy. And, and that's the part where, it's like you're nobody until you can, somebody can rip you off for some money. Sometimes I could you ever think of maybe partnering, anybody out there that you think of partnering with to bring a bigger light to? Because throw out any athlete out there. If Prime said, "Hey, I'm autistic," and everyone would be like, "Man, I'm looking for autism right now. I'm trying to, get some of that. Look at Coach Prime." Any people out there, key people, maybe here in Florida or beyond, that you're looking at to maybe partner with?
Right now, not that I really know of. I can't really pinpoint anyone right now that I know that would like support or is in supporting of it, fitness wise, or health and wellness. So I can't really think of one right now.
Okay. And sometimes it's the audience job, whether you are knowledgeable of this, but you may know somebody, but there are plenty. And it's not just special Olympic athletes, which I know, and I've had a Special Olympic athlete on here who has won plenty of medals for this country, but she said, "I got no money." And she was Black. And she said, "I got no money. They take advantage of you. They make millions off of you and they give you nothing. And, I ended up homeless with my children and blah, blah, blah." So we really need to put a light on that, because it's not fair. There's enough money to share, especially when you're making big money, to pay somebody, but they don't pay the Special Olympic athletes.
If they don't.
And so it's crazy. Tell the people anything I might have missed. I didn't want to get all up in your business, but where they can find you, how they can hire you, and also the ranges and some of the packages. I say ranges because I don't want you to give exacts, because with inflation, that means all prices are always going up, and I surely know mine are, y'all. So when you come and you say, "How much for an hour?" Yeah, you might as well book the whole month. But give us the game on that.
So contact wise, you can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at StarLimitless Fitness, and email me at starlimitlessfitness@gmail.com. In regards to services, I'm currently doing one-on-one services where I do travel to my clients. So that's in-home, local gyms or parks, whatever accommodations or environment is best suits that clientele. As far as the packages go, it's ranging from like 70 to 100 an hour, because my programs are very thorough, right? I'm not only just saying, okay, let me train this client and put them through a cardio workout or upper body, right? It's me asking the parents, okay, do they have any OT accommodations, speech, IEPs? I want to get to know the client so I can better be able to serve them. So now when we are having sessions, if, for instance, you like cars, right? I can bring a car into the session to be able to keep you engaged. And, if I know that loud noises trigger you, I'm going to be very intentional to not do loud noises so that our session can be smooth. So, it's like I said, it's very thorough, and I'm focused on each athlete individually, and each program will be individualized. So I can't use a program on Ashley and try to use it on John. It's just not ideal because certain things that work Ashley are just not going to work with John. So it's a lot of time and effort that goes into constructing it.
Okay. And thus far, on your Instagram, you haven't put your clients and use them to market. And, maybe that changes, but just for those who are worried about, man, everything's on Instagram, there so far has been some privacy. And that might be because it's new. It might be because of the clientele. But also, I think if we can put, dogs, fighting and everybody, doing all the ratchetness, then I think, putting out some positivity.
I'll be honest with you. This week is my first week training anyone under my business. So that's why there aren't any videos. I do work for a company that provides one-on-one and group sessions for the ASD community, and I've been working with them since April, and I just don't post their clients because it's not my clients, and I've never really asked them to, but I've been in the works of being a personal trainer for this community already. It's just as far as being under StarLimitless Fitness, I haven't up until this week. So, there will be content coming very shortly.
Okay. And just so no one has to email you and they can go right to this interview and get the answer outside of the autism and those on the spectrum, would you, if someone says, hey, I want you to train me, I'm not on the spectrum, is that even something that you entertain?
So beforehand, no, because I've had so many people asking, oh, why, can you train me, blah, blah, blah. But if my certification is inclusive, I have to include everybody. So I just have to pick and choose how many, because the term is typical, how many typical clientele I want to incorporate into my schedule. Because I don't want to, let's say, incorporate 5 typical people and then neglect 5 possible neurodivergent individuals that I could have helped. So it's kind of very iffy with that. And just so everyone, who's watching this does understand, it's not just ASD that I do serve. I am an inclusive fitness trainer and an autism exercise specialist through ACSM. So that means Down syndrome, spina bifida, ADHD, all of those different diagnoses. I am educated and certified to train them.
And what about, because I had a buddy who, was a paraplegic, but he still had work and somebody to help him. We always pray that things can turn around. Whatever that means is for everyone's situation is different, but people in wheelchairs and paraplegics, that too, correct?
Yep. So that was a part of the training as well. And I am in the process of getting certified through 2 different other companies. It's a continuous learning cycle, right? You can never not know enough, especially with this community of the neurodivergent. So I am in the process of getting more certifications, but yes, wheelchair bound individuals are more than welcome to get services.
All right, you guys, you are in the presence of a real saint. She's going for sainthood. When you reach out, do not try to lowball. Do not try to get over. She'd rather be jumping in her pool, listen to Little Durk and J. Cole all my life. So reach out, but do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. But more importantly, even share the game. It will change somebody's life. Y'all be blessed.
Hi everyone. Have you ever been curious about visiting Africa? Which African country were you interested in? Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Ethiopia? Which country are you interested in? My good friend Kellen Coleman came up with a course called My First Trip to Africa that'll guide you through this process. It's only $20, and in this course you'll learn about passports, visas, vaccinations that you need before you go there, as well as a budget, how much the trip is going to cost. He also talks about what you should pack, what you should take with you, how you should travel on a budget. Did you know that $100 is worth 1,000 South African rand and over 10,000 Kenyan shillings? So imagine what you can do with $100 back home. I say back home because I'm from Sudan, I'm African, I already know how it's like. I know that, when you convert Canadian and American money, it goes a long way when you're traveling across Africa. So if you're curious, if Africa is a place that you've always wanted to go, always wanted to move there, Kellen Cash is the person to ask. Check out the course. There's a little preview you can listen to before you actually purchase it. If you're interested in this course, visit www.diversifiedgame.com. Don't miss out.
Are you tired of the violence, tired of the injustice, police brutality, rampant discrimination, lack of gun control in this failed biased socioeconomic experiment called America? Or maybe you need a break from the relentless grind and want to regain control of your destiny, your wealth, your health, and your purpose. DiversifiedGame.com has the right course for you. Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Looking to reconnect with your roots, start a new business, or just a fresh start. Africa, aka the motherland, is waiting. Don't let the Chinese and the Mzungus have the fun and also take over the motherland. From Cairo to Mombasa, from Dakar to Cape Town, Africa has something for everyone, from business opportunities to the most amazing people, safety, leisure, and landscapes. The opportunities abound. It is time for the diaspora to reconnect with their roots. Time to reconnect with the birthplace of humanity. Africa is the last frontier. Get your head in the game and reclaim your legacy. The writing is on the wall. Babylon is falling. Give up the stress, grind, and violence inflicted on our people on this continent and prepare for a journey of restoration and joy by connecting with the land of your ancestors. Check out our new course and kick off your adventure at diversifiedgame.com.